When you are being Judgy McJudgerson, what the heck do you do? Welcome to Tools to Create a Better Life with myself, Glenyce Hughes. Thank you so much for being here. I am so incredibly grateful for you. Yeah, what do you do when you are Judgy McJudgerson? Now, for probably most of us, probably all of us here, that is the worst thing. What often occurs is we might judge someone else, we might judge an experience, a situation, whatever it is, and then we are way harder on ourselves because of the judgment we just did. So what we want to look at is how can we change that? How can we change the judgment in the first place? The first thing you want to recognize is that that's going to occur. That judgment is going to show up. Now, will there be a day that you don't judge? I mean, I wonder, wouldn't that be cool? But also, it isn't really about never judging again. I know a lot of times, like when I'm doing classes and sessions and I'll say to people, you know, if you could get anything out of this, what would it be? A lot of people will say, I never want to judge again. And I say, let's change that. Let's change that to more of an ask around really being aware when you're doing it and changing it the moment you become aware of it. Yeah. Now, if you're watching this on video, my camera might start to shake a little bit. We've got a little kitty here. Yes, we are house sitting in Calgary still. And she just seems to like, as many cats seem to like rubbing up against the tripod. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. So I want to look more at the ask to be way more aware when we are judging. And whether it's ourselves, someone else, something else, it doesn't matter. And then in that moment that we become aware of it, let's change it. Yes, this is what they do. And yes, it's okay. So with that, we're getting out of this, I'm almost going to say a fantasy that we never judge again. Because a lot of times, I mean, there's so much to it. First off, I'm going to say, for probably most of us, it's what we were taught, it was how we were taught to distinguish right and wrong. Now, I don't mean that we were taught correctly. I don't mean that that's the way it should be. It's just that's pretty much what we were done. This is how you do it. You judge to distinguish what is right and wrong for you based on what you've been told and all the pieces. So that judgment is quite quick to come up. So it's not wrong, but we want to recognize we have other ways that we can actually be. We could recognize that something that somebody is choosing doesn't have to be wrong for them, right? That's often where judgment comes in, is that we look at it, we would never do it, we would never choose it, so then it's the judgment that they shouldn't or they're wrong, rather than recognizing, and this is the tool that I want to share, is if you are in that space, just acknowledge for you. You don't have to say it out loud, is, wow, I wouldn't choose that. Not from sarcasm, not from judgment, not from anything except just acknowledgement to you. Wow, I wouldn't choose that. You know, now that we're living in the city, it's a lot louder in my world. For the most part, when we lived at our house with the big pool and all of that, I didn't actually leave a lot. I really stayed at home most of the time. I had everything I needed there. And so here we're pretty much going out every day. And that's something we've chose to do, something we've really looked at how we would like to be living. And one of those ways is to have a different experience, try the things that maybe we would have tried. One of the things I would tell myself before, when we lived on the acreage, was I'd see maybe a farmer's market. You know, I'd see on Facebook somebody had a farmer's market locally, and I'd be like, oh man, if I lived closer to town, I'd go. Which was actually just a really big lie, because I wouldn't. I had a little routine, and until we changed everything, I didn't actually recognize how much of a routine I had. Like, whoa, how much of a routine I had. And so now I've really chose to not have a routine. I've really chose to change things up. And one of those changes is to go out every day, do something different every day. And I mean, it's been different things like the Calgary Stampede. If you know hubby or I at all, that's not where you'd find us, except that's what we chose. It's like, I actually was surprised he joined me. I did not think, I actually thought I would go alone or check in with, some friends that live locally. Although a lot of Calgarians don't go to the Calgary Stampede, which is funny. But of course, it's not for everybody. And I'm grateful that we went. I had fun. I went and watched, there was powwow championships. And so different types of dances, and it was amazing. And then there was a dog show. Oh my gosh, that was so cool. And then we, of course, had to try some fair food or stampede food. I bought it was called a big pickle corn dog or something. Anyway, it went to the garbage. I had 2 bites and it was like, this is gross. But anyway, there was lots of different things. So we were out every day trying something new. So I'm with people every day. And there is a lot of judgment out there. There is a lot of judgment or choices that people would be choosing that I just wouldn't choose. And that is really what can assist me in that moment, is that if I can just acknowledge what is, wow, I wouldn't choose that. Some of the things that I saw going on at the Stampede, wow, I wouldn't choose that. It doesn't make me right in not choosing it. It doesn't make me wrong, and it doesn't make them wrong or right either. It's just an acknowledgement of what is. And when we can acknowledge what is, that changes everything. Because acknowledging what is, there's such a relief to it. A few weeks ago, I talked about how I had a lot of weird energy around leaving the acreage that we just sold. And some of it, of course, was all the things, but some of it was so weird. And it didn't, until I was able to acknowledge what it was, I didn't have that relief. As soon as I acknowledged, it was like, oh my gosh, there's the space. And that's what I'm looking for, especially when I'm out, say at Calgary Stampede with thousands of people. I'm looking for that space. I'm interested in that space. I'd like to be that space and contribute to more of that space. But I can't if I'm caught in they shouldn't do that, they're wrong because they're doing that, whatever it might be. I can't even actually think of an example now at the Stampede. I'm sure there were many of them, but there was just this space of recognizing that we don't have to be the Judgy McJudgerson that we're so used to. I mean, go on any social media for a few minutes and recognize, or like start to look at the judgment from people. And whether it's in their posts and they're saying how something is wrong or something is right, and then the people who are defending against or for it, and all of that insanity, rather than just like, wow, that's not for me, or that's not, I wouldn't choose that. However you want to, but just acknowledge what is true. That will change everything for you. I feel like I've been saying that a lot over these past few weeks in sessions and videos and such, because until you really get the power of that, it can seem like it's just words. It's just a weird way to deal with things. But even if you have somebody in your life that's just driving you nuts right now, like if you were to get really present with that and acknowledge what is, acknowledge that they're driving you nuts. And I would even bring it down into what's exactly going on, because that's a pretty general statement. They are driving me nuts. What is really going on? Well, when they don't text back, that drives me nuts or something. I mean, but you want to get right down to the nitty-gritty of it and acknowledge what is. And that can give you more information. That can give you more information of terms of, like, let's say it's a client that you're working with, and so they don't get back to you when they need to. They don't get you the information that you need to do your job, those sorts of things. Then you can get clear, like, wow, that's really what's bothering me, is that when they don't get me the information I need Monday morning, then I can't do my job until, Tuesday morning when they get it to me. Okay, so what do I need to do here? Wow, I need to be clearer with them that whatever it is, maybe that you get it Monday morning, or there's an additional charge every day that it's late or something like that. Like, it just gives you so much more information. But what happens is we get caught up in that Judgy McJudgerson, We get caught up in how wrong they are and how bad they are, and then usually we tell all the people around us that will listen, which is only creating more of that drama trauma, and then we've lumped it all together. We've made it all one big story rather than, wow, it just really bothers me when I don't get the stuff on Monday morning. That I've slotted their time on Mondays. That's what works for me in my schedule. Now we've got clarity. Now you can actually take some steps to change it. Now maybe they will say to you, Mondays don't work for me. Okay, cool. Then when would? And can you work it out? And if you can't, that's great information too. Be like, okay, cool. Thank you so much. You know, we'll let your contract go and you can go to somebody else. And I say all of this, guys, and it's kind of funny as I'm saying this because Erica, who does all of the work with all of the videos afterwards, after I record them, you know, I really do know that getting these recorded earlier in the week probably, she's never said anything, but probably makes her life easier and doesn't leave her to the last minute to getting them done by the time she's done work on Friday. So it is in my world, certainly, to get them done sooner rather than later. And sometimes they actually don't get done until Wednesday or Thursday. I would say never Friday, but there could have been times. But I know there's a lot of work that goes into these videos once they're recorded. So, you know, I'm talking about this, but also kind of laughing at myself going, man, it's not, I don't have them to her Monday morning. I will say that. Maybe sometimes, maybe more so if I do a batch of recordings, you know, at once, but I tend to do them each week. I just find the energy in my world, the stuff that's going on in my world is a little bit more easy to talk about. Anyway, I went off a little bit. So recognize with that, when you are becoming Judgy McJudgerson, that one, that's okay. Don't judge you for becoming Judgy McJudgerson because now you're just going to dig a bigger hole. But you do want to look at, okay, how can I change this? And the tool that I have just found to be the quickest, the easiest in that moment is, I just wouldn't choose that. Like, wow, I wouldn't choose that. And then carry on. I don't mean still piece it apart like, wow, I wouldn't choose that because of this. No, just acknowledge what is and then carry on with your life. And recognize that we all have this infinite creative energy. Infinite creative energy. We can be putting that creative energy into judgment, Judgy McJudgerson, or into creating what we would like. So another way that you could shift it is looking at, okay, wow, I wouldn't choose that. And if you find you still are going down the rabbit hole, what you could then look at is like, okay, what would I like to create right now? What I like to create changes everything. Because chances are you wouldn't like to create more judgment. You wouldn't like to create more of that harsh energy, that unkindness, all of that. You'd probably like to create more space, more ease, more joy, more money, more magic, all the things, right? And so once you recognize that you have a choice in that creation, then what's actually possible? Have a great week, sweet friends. I look forward to chatting again next week.